it's Wednesday again, so time to do an overview of some comics I read. So here we are, Titans Beast World, which it's granted it's only the third issue in. I don't care about the spinoffs, but it's not bad. It's pretty good. I can't believe I'm praising an event series. But it's very simple and concise to the problem they're dealing with, and probably, I'm sure, as they're supposed to, sets up things they'll deal with in the future. And having Amanda Waller be the big manipulator behind it all and this sort of thing. Anyway, the cover here, Batman Infected. It doesn't really deal with his infection for the most part. But I guess to catch you up on last issue, yes, he got infected, and instead of turning into a bat, he turned into a wolf. Yeah. So he's Wolfman now. Anyway, so they're dealing with this and dealing with the battles and everything. Then we get a demonstration right off the bat of Starfire's power of wiping out a bunch of the little starfishies with some sort of super duper nova blast, I guess she does. And fortunately, Donna's able to take the blast because she's a super duper pooper scooper Amazon, so it works out. And, you meet the Flash and everything. All that's great. We get back to, Dick Grayson, Nightwing, wanting to see if there's some way to help Batman turn back to normal, I guess this is a budding romance potential with this doctor. Meanwhile, his ex-girlfriend, Batgirl, is sitting there. His other girlfriend, Starfire's out battling the starfishes. The Detective Chip shows up, and of course they immediately assume he's a guy been transformed into a chip. And there's some silliness here and there, and it's fine. Power Girl, she gets infected, so Superman, he's John Kent. That's that. Clark Kent is Superman. John Kent is John Kent. And he can't even be Superboy because there's so many damn Superboys. It's like the Robins, pick one. Anyway, I'd forgotten about this, that they had teased he would get the Electro powers, which I kind of thought, hey, here's a way, give him those, and that could help him develop an even more of a identity unto himself to place him even more apart from his father. But of course, he'll always be derivative of Superman, but it's just one of those things. But I don't think they're ever really going to do anything with it. He just has it, so all of a sudden his costume becomes blue and white, and he's got lightning everywhere. So Power Girl turned into a flaming chicken, and Jonathan Kent has to do, well, I guess John Kent. Jonathan Kent would be Pa Kent, So John Kent, has to deal with it, whatever. Black Adam's a lion, but then he gets his ass handed to him by Starfire, and like a frightened kitty, a cowardly lion, he runs away. But he's a kitty now, so if he was still a Black Adam, he'd still be in the fight. But anyway, so they're trying to deal with Beast Boy, who is now his own version of Starro, and if they could. And there's interesting things in it. The artwork is really good. It's a tough thing to follow Ivan Reyes, but this Lucas Mayer guy, Lucas Mayer, it does a really good job. So it was a good follow-up. That's a tough thing to do when you have a superstar artist, but is only available for 2 issues, and you got someone good to follow after him. So, Amanda Waller, what's going to happen? Well, nothing. So anyway, Peacemaker's around, that's nice. And of course, we need Lex Luthor. Yeah. So, there you go. So far, so good with the series. I have no interest, again, in the spinoffs. Those tend to be pretty stupid, no matter what, or how good the overall event is. So, it's surprising. It's a Tom Taylor book, but so far so good. It's only 3 issues in. Where it goes, I guess I'll find out. Hopefully, it pays off. It's nothing spectacular other than the art's pretty solid, but in this day and age, it seems a lot better than it ordinarily would be. And but also, the idea of an event series being entertaining, which most of them aren't. And suddenly here is one. My initial recommendation was they don't do any more events, but this one is probably simple. They just got to save people from being turned into animal creatures, and that's that. As to what comes out of it, usually that's the case, but they'll probably drop the ball on that too. No matter how good the event series is, more times than not, most of the changes end up being irrelevant within a few months. So anyway, that's Beast World and the Titans. Sandman continues to be just pretty good. Of the the spin-offs of Justice Society are better than the Justice Society story, with the exception of the Green Lantern story, which is, everything's been said about it. It's not really even allowed to be a superhero story. So let's look at the ones that are. So Sandman has his mystery and his guilt about the weaponry he's developed, and someone's found it and making a thing of it. This book pretty much reveals who the real villain is. They don't come out and say it, but it's pretty damned obvious. But it's creepy murder mystery aspects to it, which is fitting for it. This artist again was the one who did the Tim Drake series that nobody liked, but here works pretty damn good for the narrative here in Sandman in the good old Golden Age days. So there is the evil Sandman strikes Sandman, and actually looks much cooler with the black and red. It looks like he stole the Shadow's coat and all that, but which is kind of, well, not kind of, it pretty much is how Sandman is depicted as an old pulp character like the Shadow was, and so it's kind of appropriate. But anyway, there it is, and this is some sort of kind of a family drama thing, I think, is how it'll play out. But it's a good read, and I've had a lot of fun with it. It's pretty much on par as good as the Jay Garrick Flash series. This was an alternate cover, but it's the one I got. And both are just leaps and bounds better than the Justice Society of America. The Stargirl series was fun, and that was pretty good. But these, I don't know, maybe they should just continue on with Sandman and Jay Garrick Flash. And I don't know what to do about the Justice Society. It's just become quite the bore fest, so it's unfortunate. But anyway, I recommend this one. So if you want to check out Sandman, I think it's pretty good. So, of course, here ending on still the absolute best of DC, World's Finest, and continuing on in their romp with tying this into Kingdom Come, or perhaps changing up Kingdom Come, I would think. But here, of course, Magog showed up. Hey, that chair looks familiar. Yeah. And it of course, Dan Mora's art even it makes it even better. And it's just, it's this alternate Earth, and they meet younger versions of the Kingdom Come characters. And David, of course, having been revealed to become Magog. I mean, it said Magog. Gog is the ultimate. One of the old gods. They're still going with that story that he was one of the original old gods before the formation of the new gods. Here he is, very much like Galactus, turning people into his heralds. There we do yet another birth of Magog. So there he is. But Superman and Batman meet somebody in prison and tells them the story of what happened. And it's basically the same story of Apocalypse and New Genesis forming after the old gods destroyed themselves in their world and whatnot. And Gog is one of the leftovers from that time period. So it's staying pretty much the same. I'm just thinking they're going to well, I mean, Wade is going to, change it up a little here and there. But it's still pretty damn good. So ultimately, the Earth 22 Superman and Batman realize we've made a mistake, and they come to help their younger counterparts. So, yeah, it hasn't stumbled, not really, and it's 22 issues in, and that's something. Unfortunately, the idiocy and psychosis of Mark Waid continues online and stuff like that. Makes it very difficult to ignore that foolishness, and probably damned the title for people who are enjoying it and just can't bring themselves to separate the art from the artist. And, well, I understand that. It's a shame, especially since mainstream publishers are in no position to be messing around like that. You need to produce solid product. And a lot of the templates of World Finest, it's a pretty damn good template for how to do it. But I guess it's, what they say, you just can't have nice things. So let's head over to Marvel. And not a lot to offer at Marvel, but Moon Knight, of course, was one, and the Hulk is really good. And then came across a Silver Surfer, because I was watching Thinking Critical and they mentioned it. So I said, all right, let me delve into this. And I was enjoying it. It was doing really well. And then here comes issue 5. And art-wise, it's still good and all that. And it's fun and everything. And it's all this cosmic adventures of Silver Surfer, and his ultimate foe is Mephisto. And they have to take each other on. Yeah, this is looking interesting with Ultimate Spider-Man. But looks like they're going to make Green Goblin more like the movie Green Goblin. Why can't he just at least have the face? Yeah. But I like that better than him being a guy who turns into a monster like it used to in the Ultimate Verse. So I will be checking it out and see what they do there. Anyway, so, it's the battle in Mephisto's realm, which, boy, it looks a lot like hell, doesn't it? Then he turns into his true form, a giant red dragon guy. And it looks pretty much all hope is lost. But then here comes Captain Marvel's son and Eve Warlock. And Eve Warlock just goes full Mary Sue and solves everything. Because there was no other hope anyway. I guess she was sacrificed because she's, as a result of winning this, she's flung to the far future at the end of the universe or something. I don't know. So they all come back to where the time stone is supposed to be kept by Gamora. Hey, it's fine. And so Silver Surfer takes off, and I guess Genisville is going to keep being his sidekick. So it's that he's the Robin for Silver Surfer for a time, I guess. I don't know. And so off he goes into space. And then there we are at the end of the universe, and Nova and Eve Warlock show up. And I guess they're going to make out. I don't know. I don't know if this is this a mini-series. I mean, it's Silver Surfer Rebirth Legacy, which sounds like a mini-series title. So maybe there'll be another #1 for Silver Surfer, depending on how well this did. It doesn't say it's that, and it's done the mock-up to look like old Marvel comics from like late 90s and stuff with the logo on, which I guess is probably the continuity for it. So I'm like, hey, it doesn't really matter. So I don't know. It had a good, strong narrative for it. I was enjoying it, and then it just fizzles, and Eve Warlock just solves everything. You know, I think they wrote themselves in a corner and didn't quite know how to get out of it. So everything's magically solved, and I don't know. So anyway, it was good while it lasted, but I don't know if there's an issue 6 or just another #1 for Silver Surfer. But what are you going to do? It fizzled. That's what happened. It's not terrible, I wouldn't say, but it fizzled. Meanwhile, here's the new Moon Knight, and look at his snazzy new suit, which actually makes a lot of sense, except The cape is really white on the inside, so you can still really see him, and then of course the symbols and stuff. But that was the thing about Moon Knight is, boy, he's quite the target. I know you fight at night, but when you're bright white, everybody can see you coming. But anyway, yeah, no, he said, I want them to see me coming, all that. So anyway, yet another alternate cover thing, but you get a pretty good look at what his new suit is and everything. So, coming in the aftermath of the supposed death of Mark Spector, people are mourning. It's called, the title of the comic is Reese, because she's the main focus. I know, I can hear the groans. But basically, she is not Moon Knight. She is in charge of the mission that he built, and off they go. They try to have a little funeral service. Moon Knight is Jewish, so they get help from Ben Grimm, because he is also Jewish, to help them out with this memorial service for him. So a lot of that is, dealing with the remorse and loss, and her trying to reestablish the Midnight Mission. She takes therapy from the therapist, and meanwhile they have to deal with these creepy looking villains, and their weapons aren't very good against them and everything. And then here comes Hunter Moon, and because he's a priest, he has power over these creatures, because turns out they're demons. And hey, how doesn't that work out? So all the while wondering who could be the new Moon Knight. We don't quite meet him yet. And here wondering if Reese is going to steal Moon Knight's girlfriend, Tigra, here. But apparently she's just challenging her to stand down and not to go full beastal on people. So she's still, and all of this is told during her therapy session. And, oh boy, she's got to deal with the feels and stuff. Meanwhile, stupid former criminal 8-Ball gets severely beaten by someone, and is dumped into the mission, and it's Moon Knight. Oh my God! So Hunter Moon, whom I thought was a good candidate to be the new Moon Knight, no, there he is in the mission, saying, "Oh my God, what happened to 8-Ball?" And then here he comes. Here's Moon Knight saying, "Hey guys, get out of my house. I'm the real Moon Knight," and all this stuff. So they begin to suspect that somehow, some way, Mark Spector came back from the dead, which he shouldn't be able to do because his god Khonshu is locked away and could not resurrect him. And yet, perhaps there was some way. And of course, there's no body. There was an explosion. So the idea is this Mark Spector, but yet another personality of him, to fit in with all the other versions. There'll be several Moon Knights, but it's all the same guy. And it's kind of been happening all along anyway. I mean, he always had, well, not always. Originally, these were just aliases, but they decided, hey, let's differentiate him even more from Batman. So he has the multiple personality disorder, and that's where they went with it. And then, Warren Ellis introduced Mr. Knight, which is sort of another superhero persona of Moon Knight. Didn't really go full throttle on that, but I always took it as that. I mean, it's like on some missions he's in the cape and hood and all that, and others he's just in the mask and suit. So maybe, just maybe, this black version of Moon Knight is the deal. Unless it's a messed up Black Spectre, or maybe the original Black Spectre, I don't know, posing as Moon Knight, or something of that nature. Maybe that's something to do with it. But then eventually the real Mark Spector will show up. When they kill off the main character, they always come back. I mean, unless it's some old forgotten character no one knew about for decades, and they replace him with a newer version or something like that. That's a little different. But Moon Knight's been around a while. He's not a top tier character, certainly not like Spider-Man or something, but still, those who know. So the idea that that's it, that was the way Mark Spector ends, you'll never see him again. I don't think so. And at the very least, they didn't, unless this is a woman in a padded suit. They didn't make Moon Knight a woman and that sort of thing. So anyway, the mystery is afoot. The art is still interesting and cool to look at. So I'll stay with it and see where it goes. But yeah, there's troubling elements here. They could go wrong very easily. Whereas before, I mean, as far as Marvel goes, it was a fairly decent superhero title, which is a rare thing from one of the big two. So far so good. Apologies. In on that until it really screws up. So finally we get to the absolute best with a great cover by the great Jay Lee here for Conan the Barbarian. And still doesn't have the Del Toro art. It has Braithwaite's art, which is excellent. But man, it's hard to follow that the guy who was really channeling the John Buscema style, which to me is the Conan style, you know. So here's happier times for Conan, but it didn't end well. Because the thing about Conan is not just all the hot babes and the adventure, it's the terrible tragedy that he has to endure. So anyway, another supernatural story. They go to steal this important element for this wizard or what have you, and end up being attacked by these wrathful spirits. And a good bit of them survive, but apparently after they've touched you, there's serious consequences for that. Whereas Conan, well, he just slaughters his way out. And he doesn't get touched by the evil entities. But anyway, so again, it's just raw, pure Conan the Barbarian adventure. And once again, he has some fun on the side too. And then one of the teammates decides to get in on the action. Yes, the girl. But what happened? Yeah. So anyway, Conan the Barbarian, once again, probably the best title available at the moment, and seems to be untouched by evil spirits and the woke, which is probably worse than the evil spirit. Well, pretty much is. Anyway, there you go. Those were the comics that I indulged and recommended for you here on Mr. Nailsin's Wednesday Comics.